Burnout doesn't mean that I burn from the inside out. What was easy once today seems unattainable. I'm exhausted. Why am I like that? Can I call you back? What time is it? I lose interest and track of time. I can't stop worrying about tomorrow. And I don't have capacity for anything today. Who am I? And where did she go? I experienced the heaviest burnout of my life back in 2021 in January in the most beautiful place on earth. I used to live in Tulum, Mexico by the Caribbean Sea for about 6 months. I had daily access to sunlight, which was a true luxury if you compare that to the place I was coming from, which was Canada at the time, especially during winter. The East Coast is very, very dark place starting November until early May, I would say. So I spent all that time living in Mexico. I was living in the jungle, waking up every day to the sounds of birds singing and healing my soul with the belly up facing the sky when floating in the sea. The environment definitely helped. I was asking that question too, how this girl could be burnt out in such a magical place. But the reality was that I still overworked. And I took the term work-life balance in all the wrong places. I literally took my work to the beach, to a yoga class, everywhere you can imagine. My laptop sat on every surface you may think of. So I would sit on the beach distracted by my work while trying to rest, in the same time listening to people talking on the background, people playing ball. And in general, it was such not a quiet place to be in while working that I was constantly distracted. So I was not resting and I was not working. And that was definitely not a good balance for me. So I soon realized that dividing my attention to so many things is actually bringing more anxiety to my life. I could notice that when I was actually practicing meditation on a daily basis, which was my non-negotiable for a really long time to deal with my burnout, I realized that I'm not healing at all and I'm working backwards. So I first had to fix the distractions and focus on one thing at a time, because if I distract myself every minute of the day, 10 minutes of doing the right thing and quieting my mind is actually not gonna get me anywhere. It's not gonna help me. So I've been noticing that meditating became harder and harder the more I pressured myself to do more work, to do the work that I was doing on the beach, which was not sustainable. I was constantly worrying about Wi-Fi. I was listening to people's conversations. My monkey mind was just thriving. I had so many thoughts at a time, which I did not enjoy. So aside my work burnout, I also experienced travel burnout. And yes, travel burnout is totally real. It is this feeling of uncertainty that was haunting me on a daily basis. I didn't know where I'm gonna be sleeping in the next couple of weeks, which brought so much anxiety and stress, unnecessary stress. I was stressed for no reason. It's just the fear of the unknown. And I would experience that on a daily basis. I was moving every couple of weeks or every month. Once I lived in a place for 2 months, which was really healthy for me and I actually felt better. But I also had a story when I arrived to my Airbnb in Tulum and it was just unlivable. And I had to find myself a place to live because it was getting dark and I had nowhere to stay. So I was just sitting outside on the ground with my suitcases, not knowing where I'm going to sleep that night. So It was a lot back in the days. I brought myself pressure that I could totally avoid, but that's another story for another time. I was flirting with burnout, not knowing that I was doing it. The awareness of my patterns and behaviors brought light to the situation, so it doesn't really matter where we physically are, in a hot or cold environment, dark or bright. The way we behave and treat ourselves is a big factor of how we're going to feel later. How I detect burnout. 1. Easily overwhelmed. When the tasks that used to be easy are unbearably painful and exhausting. If I feel that even taking care of myself can be overwhelming, I know it's burnout. If I need to take a nap after I wash my hair and apply skincare, these are my default self-care tasks that never a burden for me in a healthy mental state. But if I consistently avoid them, it's a big sign of burnout for me. 2. Feeling lost. I feel like all I'm doing is not getting me anywhere. I feel useless and with no access to creativity. I can't find inspiration in the things that used to drive me previously. 3. Frequent agitation. When I feel agitated by everything and everyone is pissing me off, this could be the way a colleague responds to my message, or a rainy day when I had plans to have a sunny day off. Things that I don't have control over and used to not affect my mood at all in the past. How I treat burnout and avoid spreading myself too thin. 1. Radical rest and compassion towards myself. I can't get me out of burnout if I'm burnt out. Energy is low, so when I feel overwhelmed by taking care of myself and my surroundings, when that happens, I minimize everything to 0. I avoid making decisions at all costs. My most important daily tasks are feeding myself, showering. Isolation is my safe place as an introvert, so I do that. No social media or responding to messages for a little while until I feel like I have the capacity for it. I take naps and I journal to offload all the heavy burden that is holding me back. I practice acceptance and quit being so judgmental towards myself. I'm not rushing anywhere. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. When I feel a little better, I integrate non-negotiables into my daily routine. I wake up early in the morning, about 7 a.m. This time works the best for me. I take myself on a walk to get sun exposure early in the day to start my circadian rhythm and help my body differentiate between night and day. I move my body in a gentle way. It is usually stretching or yoga. I take time to drink my coffee in peace, and when I have thoughts in the morning, I write them down. Sometimes I don't have anything to put on paper, so I don't. I do what feels right to get familiar again with my instincts, as the modern days distort the routine of the human needs that keep me alive and in good health, such as eating when I'm hungry and not waiting until I finish a task or a full day of work and then I remember to eat. I meditate for about 5 minutes. Sometimes it is more when my state of mind allows. I usually go through a yoga nidra practice and move on with my day. And sometimes I take another 3 to 5 minutes to practice breath work to calm my body and mind. Some of these morning habits I picked up from my favorite podcaster, Andrew Huberman. He's a neuroscientist that focuses on neurobiology at Stanford School of Medicine and leads a podcast on the topic. Would highly recommend listening to his work to hopefully embrace tools at a zero cost that can help live a better life. Another habit that keeps me away from burnout is to keep my promise to myself. The reason why I was always border burnout is because I would set unrealistic expectations and won't do the things I said I'm going to do on time. So the on-time factor is very important, because if I'm always late for my tasks and do them in the very last minute, eventually I will play catch up, so I won't sleep and I rumble through my day, because now I don't have time to take care of myself. I don't have time to cook a healthy meal, don't have time to sleep, and don't have time to talk to my friends, because now I'm stressed and anxious, procrastinating and pressuring myself to do the things that my nervous system is not prepared to process in a healthy way. So the solution here is to set realistic expectations, pivot fast in the moment if I realize something is not realistic, and work on doing things on time. I show up to work on time. There is no reason why I cannot show for the tasks I set for myself. I noticed that for me, the hardest part is showing up. The rest gets figured out in the process. And I will leave you with the last thought for today, and probably one of my favorite cures and precaution methods to prevent burnout. Reassessment. Sometimes I make a large list of the things that I need to do per month, per week, per day, and instead of attacking my to-do list, I go lay in bed and stare at my phone, consuming content. I'm overwhelmed just by the thought of starting a task. I finally embraced a technique that helped me to deal with my task starting fear. Everything that is not moving me closer to the 3 goals that I set for myself this year, I'm crossing off my list. I look at what's left and divide it to front burner and back burner. Everything that is high impact, low effort goes to front burner, aka low hanging fruits. And the rest is getting divided considering the season and my mental health state. So I feel like I'm making impact and also have fun doing it. Thank you for staying with me this far. Sending you love. Cheers.